Good morning. Welcome to day 28 of the Subtle Secrets of Pranayama. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some of the physiology of pranayama and why it's relevant and important, especially if you're a teacher, for sharing with your students. One of the things that the research, so there's a couple things that research shows about breath. One of them that's pretty consistently in the literature that you'll see is that a breath of about somewhere between 5.5 and 6.5 breaths a minute seems to bring the nervous system into a homeostatic balance. So that's kind of interesting. It's about so if you break up a minute, it's about a 10-second breath, something like that. Maybe just a little bit longer, maybe 12-second breath. So then we break that down into ratios. So if you're looking at like 5 counts in, 6 counts, 7 counts out, something like that. Things that we have been talking about through this challenge. That seems to be where the research lands in terms of being the optimizing for the nervous system. So I think that's kind of inspiring. I also want to say that it has to vary because it has to vary depending on body weight, depending on men and women. I mean, there's so many different things. But the other thing that they discovered is that when yoga practitioners go into a deep state of connection or a deep state of meditation, meditators, long-term meditators, what they found is that that's where their breath rests naturally. So it's as if that's where your breath, the physiology goes into this sort of optimal place around 5 to 7 breaths a minute, something like that, right? And that would, in my mind, what that means is that that's where the breath is optimized anyway. And so with pranayama, we kind of want to get it around there. There's lots of people that say you should get it even longer, like 1 breath a minute, But I think that depends on what you're trying to do. And that can take a long time to get to. And I think the problem is when people say that, yoga teachers say that, and I've heard plenty of yoga teachers talk about that then we sort of go into this competitive mode. And I think we have to be really mindful not to, and be really aware that the breath is leading. The breath is always leading us and guiding us. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to say about the research. And the second thing I wanted to say is that the other piece of the research here is that almost any breathing practice tends to have a parasympathetic effect. So almost any breathing practice, whether you're breathing fast or slow or any conscious takeover of the breath, tends to have a relaxation effect, which I think is really interesting, again, because that means it's not so much about the technique, it's about the awareness. And then the last piece I wanted to talk about is something called the vagal brake, the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is constantly guiding the physiology and maintaining homeostatic balance in your system. And it is definitely picking up signals all the time from the stretch receptors in the lungs and other aspects of respiration. So there's something called, we can think about the vagus nerve kind of like a brake, and this can be helpful in terms of thinking about the inhale and the exhale, because some people will say the inhale is energizing, breathe in, it's energizing, the exhale is relaxing, and okay, that's accurate. However, that energizing is not coming from an activation of the sympathetic part of the nervous system. It takes a while for that part of the nervous system to kick into the shift in your breath. What does kick in right away to the shift in respiration is the parasympathetic part of the nervous system, which is, of course, the vagus nerve is the largest nerve of that parasympathetic part of the nervous system. So when you exhale, it's kind of like putting your foot on the brake. And when you inhale, it's like taking your foot off of the brake, but it's really like you're rolling down a hill rather than, the whole thing of respiration is like rolling down a hill rather than inhaling, climbing the hill, exhaling, rolling down. If that makes, what I'm trying to convey here is that it's not so much about, again, it's not so much about the technique, and just about every breathing practice can have a relaxing effect on the nervous system. And basically that's what everybody needs. Some people need more energizing effect, but we can get this via a better balance of the relaxation effect as opposed to trying to stimulate, like with, it's breathing is not like espresso. It's not like espresso. It's more like a bowl of soup. So you think about your inhale like something nourishing as opposed to something stimulating. And I think that's a really important piece for students to understand. I got to run. I got something going on this morning, so I can't stay with you to practice. But what I want to say is tomorrow we're going to practice or review 5 of the pranayamas that we've practiced during this series. So choose your favorite one for today. Please do it. Give yourself about 5 minutes. Leave questions and comments. I'll be back tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Sunday. I'll be back on Monday. Okay. Bye.